Jeff, Arizona Hot Homestead here with another video for you. Look at this. This is a composting barrel, or maybe a composting tumbler, however way you want to look at it. So let's take a look at this thing. This is for my poop house. So once that bucket's full, that guy right there, then it goes in here and it starts its magic, decomposing the way nature intended. So let's take a look at this contraption. First, let's look at the barrel. The barrel, 55-gallon drum, plastic, as you can tell. The hole cut in there is about 16 inches by 16, just big enough for that bucket to pour in, and big enough that I can get in there to clean it out and etc. If you notice on this, I have a metal strip across here. This is just a strap. In fact, let's look at the name on this. Let's see if we can get this. It's called a Simpson Strong tie, and the number is that ER102? There we go. It's just a strap. It's about 24 inches long. I did not cut it. Here's a screw to one end, or a bolt, and there's a bolt to the other end. I will put a couple more bolts in the middle, but right now it looks like it's holding well. I ran another one up the side, another one in the back, another one on the other side. The reason why I did this was so that the lid itself would have a backstop. On the one going across, there's the bottom one there for that bolt. I had to put a center one here just because of curvature. And then there's one back here. Did the exact same thing to this side here. Now if you notice, this is kind of sort of cut out. That's because my bolts here on my latches end up cutting into it, so I just bent it back. For those of you who are concerned about sharp objects and things, this is pretty sharp, so you might want to do something about that if you're prone to getting cut by sharp objects. Me, I just look at it as part of life. Scars are storytellers. Oh, let's see, what else? Oh, these hinges in the back, these are just two standard hinges. What I did was, this bolts here that I used throughout the process are 10/24, and I went with 3/4 inch. As you can see, the length of it, I maybe could have got away with a 1/2 inch instead of 3/4, but again, if you're prone to sharp objects and things, you might cut yourself on this, but I'm okay with this. It gave me a little bit more room to work with, and I got a washer and then a lock nut, and I did that throughout. When you go to close it, there's my hinge. Another hinge over here. And then down here on my latches, I just use these standard latches. I've seen other type of latches be used. The ones that are kind of your clamp-on ones, those are pretty nice. I just went with these. If you notice, I've got this one going the opposite way as this one. Now the reason why I did that is because as the barrel turns, if for any reason the weight is just right that it loosens one of them, then the other one stays on. So if you notice on the side here, it kind of curls before I latch it. Well, that's was very common with everyone who used these plastic barrels. A lot of them would put hinges down here because initially that makes sense. The backstop helps that curl, and putting hinges on the side also helps battle that curl. So when it just takes a little bit of pressure to push it down, and I'll show you that. So all I did was just pound on it with my fist, and then I could just easily latch it. And then same thing with this guy over here. And then as you can see, I don't know if you can kind of see the dent there. It's kind of not straight. It's not a complete roundness. That's what a lot of people were battling. So that lip that's in there, that backstop, really helps secure that. What I also did was I put on handles. Now, a lot of people like the idea of just spinning it like this. Well, to me, if I've got a lot of weight on here, and maybe it's been raining or something and the barrel's slick, this doesn't give me much of a grip. This was only like $1.50 or whatever at Home Depot, so $1.79, $2 basically. So, got a handle here, I can spin it, and with this one here, now I gotta trade hands. I grab it here, then I spin it, and there's the other one, and I can spin it, so I can just rotate my hands. I've got 4 of them, and they're evenly spaced. Now if you notice, what's that color there? Well, I'm also going to paint this thing. I'm going to paint it black, because as you know, black likes to absorb that heat, and therefore it's going to help make this thing an oven. And I'll probably have to paint it from time to time just to keep it nice and fresh. I'll probably also paint this even black as well, maybe just to be consistent. That loop right there, that eye bolt that I put in, it also uses the same lock nuts. The reason why I did that was because when I let go of this thing, the weight of the door brings it down to the bottom. Well, if I want to leave it upright, and this being upright, if I have this loop, I can then, and I haven't done it yet, I can then utilize the sides here to basically rig up a string, a rope, a bungee, whatever, a cable, whatever I want to help hold it in place. I also did the opposite side, because this one here is set so that when it's open and dumping into my wheelbarrow, I can hold it in place while I kind of clean it out. This whole thing is set with the idea that a wheelbarrow can fit right underneath it, so I can easily dump it into a wheelbarrow, take it to its next stage. Now making this stand, oh wait, let's go to this other piece. How is it sitting in the wood? Well, I got 3/4 inch PVC, a cap, not glued, just stuck on. And on this 3/4 inch PVC, this side I didn't have a cap, so I just used that. There is a 1/2 inch conduit, same length, 4 feet. Reason being, the PVC over time with the weights and all that may give a little. This way it's not going to, it will give it some additional support. Now building this framework, if you don't remember your geometry, it sure would be helpful. What I did was these cross pieces are 60 inches long. When I measure, and it's not exact, but when I measure from here out to there, that distance is about 8 to 10 inches. I wanted to go beyond the barrel to obviously give it some support. In the center of this board, right about here, the other side is so easier to see, show you that, we put a screw. The screw, that's the center one. That screw is 40 inches to the base there and 40 inches to the base down there. That's what we used as our centerpiece. And then we spread it out until we got to the angle that we liked. Now you can see here we first started right there. Well, we didn't like that. Wasn't giving enough wide enough support, so we moved it up and redid it. We couldn't remember our geometry, so we had to do it this way. Now if you also notice, you got weird stuff like this. You got this 2x4 here, but then you got this little piece of 2x4. Granted, you have this going across and it helps make this work better. But when I did this, I did it all with scraps that I had. And as I look at it, it looks like you'd be better off maybe using 4x4s and just cutting a notch down through here to combine the 4x4s. And then it'll make it easier to run your braces. So that's something to think about for you if you want to make one of these. Probably use 4x4s. But if you don't, no big deal. You can just use 2x4s and just rig them up any way it works. Doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. Now on this side here, if you kind of notice that board there, that's not a 2x4, that's a 2x3. And same thing with that one, I ran out of 2x4s. I also added an extra board here to give me more support, not only down there to match up with that cross piece, but for these other cross pieces. So I would have, instead of a 1.5 inch, which is the thickness of that 2x4, it would give me another one. So I got actually 3 inches, and that allows me to put 2 screws in there, and it holds it a whole lot better. I did the exact same thing with the other side, and then we ran a couple of cross pieces down through here. We cut them to make them nice and pretty, even though I know I said earlier we don't want to make it pretty. But I also looked at it that I didn't want to poke myself. You remember that Shark Biologics thing? Well, kind of cut it to match that, as you can see with that board there. Then I cut that one, then I saw that point, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to end up poking myself on that. But oh well, battle scars, right? This cross piece here, I like this. This has been helpful. When I was putting the barrel together, I was using that as a shelf, putting my drill bits or my screws and stuff on there. But this is my compost barrel. Let's look at some of this. All I had here are, see how well this comes out. Let's see. There we go. Nylon lock nuts, 1024. I just bought a big box, because on the homestead you can use it at some other point. Here's some washers, some flat washers. They're also number 10s. Big old box of them. These are the bolts I used. 1024 3/4. These came with other bolts, these guys here, but I didn't use these. I just used these guys here. So I ended up buying a lot of packs of this, because as you can see there's 8 per pack. And if you didn't count what I was showing, there's a lot of them. Here are the eye bolts I used. I got a couple of extras in case I wanted to use them. And what's nice is it's 3/4 inch, and I use 1.5 inch on this because it goes from here to here on the eye bolt. But this uses the exact same lock nut. So that was perfect. I didn't have to use anything different. To put them all together, I use this on the inside. This is a 3/8 inch. And then I would use this guy here to tighten it and hold it on the other side with this. Some of them were really difficult to get to, as you can imagine, because my only access hole was the door. So some of them that were all the way to the other side, well, my arm wasn't long enough to go down, and my other arm go all the way around with the drill to tighten. So I was able to manage it. So if you had a second person for that part, that would be helpful. What else? Oh, the holes I drilled. I don't think I talked about the holes. These guys right here. I just randomly drilled 1/4 inch holes. And if I find out that's not enough, I'll drill some more. But I just randomly drill some holes. I'm going to use this paint here because it bonds to plastic. And it was only like $3 or so. Ideal for indoor, outdoor. Well, good, because it's going to be outdoor. And I'm sure in this Arizona sun I'll have to do it 100 times. This drill bit, 3/8 inch, is what I use for the bolt holes. What else can I show you? That's pretty much it. This is the, these holes here, I know some of you are going to say, hey, what are those holes? Those caps? I got the caps, I just didn't put them on yet. So I'll put caps on there. See, can you see that one right there? And this is my compost barrel. I got a couple buckets full and I'm ready to put stuff in it. And I'll be composting because that's the natural way of doing things. Compost barrel. Compost tumbler. Ideal for your compost toilet. Ideal for your poop house. And she's painted black. 3 spray cans. She kind of looks badass. Isn't she pretty? ArizonaHotHomestead. Living in my RV off-grid.